These are the fresh tribal volunteers known locally as the Lashkars, with assault rifles and even heavy weapons. They walk up to the snow-capped mountains in what is looking more and more like a battle between the tribals versus the Pakistani Taliban. Here they are replacing the night guard on duty, who are equally well armed and equally determined.
We have organized a Lashkar against the Taliban. They have come here and are killing our policemen and conducting bomb blasts. They are killing our children and innocent. They are not Taliban. They are terrorists.
But while things here may be tense, it is business as usual in the bazaars of Upper Deir, as people go about their daily chores under the watchful eyes of the armed locals. There is no age barrier on who can and who cannot carry a deadly weapon. The tribal Lashkars of Deir have been battling a strong and determined opponent in the mountainous region of Upper Deir along the Pakistan-Afghanistan border. Now, this is a region where the militants had got a strong foothold. The tribal Lashkar are normally formed whenever there's a contingency sort of situation in the region. The tribes then get together and form a voluntary force to be able to restore order in their areas. There is an increasing trend that more and more tribal Lashkars are now being formed in the area of North Waziristan, South Waziristan, both strategically located along the Pakistan-Afghan border and in other bordering regions as well. But is this ragtag militia or tribal Lashkar up to the job? So far, they have not been able to dislodge a group of armed and determined fighters from their area and complain they have received little help.
For every 5 clips of ammunition we use, we get only 1 from the government.
The battle between the Lashkars and the Pakistani Taliban may be an option, but there are others who warn it could turn out to be a double-edged sword. Kamal, Hyder, Al Jazeera, Deir.
Let's talk to Imtiaz Gul in Islamabad. He's an expert on tribal affairs. He's covered Pakistan and Afghanistan extensively. Thanks very much for joining us. A lot of people are drawing parallels between these Lashkar groups and the Sunni awakening groups over in Iraq. But the Lashkars have been around for a long time, haven't they?
Well, I think they have a long history in the tribal areas of Pakistan and Afghanistan. And the first time Pakistanis heard of a Lashkar were the tribals who had crossed the Karakoram mountains and walked into Kashmir, and they had almost gotten Srinagar in 1948, 1947, immediately after the creation of Pakistan, and those were also known as tribal Lashkars. So there's a long history, even much before 1948. These tribal people had been using Lashkars, raising army, as a self-defense, social defense mechanism to fend off imminent threats or invasion or incursions by opponent rival tribes or any other enemy.
So in the case of the Taliban, how successful have they been in being able to push back the Taliban out of their areas?
I think the very idea of raising Lashkar or standing up against the Taliban militants stems from the realization that if the local community is not ready to take on these militants, then there's very little that the authorities can do, or particularly the army, which can clear the area for a brief time, but holding on to the area and then fending off these militants on a continuous basis and rebuilding that region becomes a problem if the local community is not around. So probably this idea has been injected into the minds of these people, and that's why they decided to take up arms against the militants.
Well, what does it say about the Pakistani military that they're relying on these armed groups for help, which are, at the end of the day, banned under the Constitution?
Well, you know, the army and the authorities really had to resort to some mechanism which could supplement their effort of counter-insurgency, because counter-insurgency is not the job of the military alone. It involves local community, involves civilian authorities, and probably that's why the army and the government went for this option, and so far it seems it has been successful, not only in the Malakand and Deir region, but also in some other tribal frontier regions like Bannu, Jani Khail, and close to North Waziristan. So I think this was one option, unwanted option, but which is working for the time being.
What about the long term, though? Are there concerns about one group of armed men running around fighting another group of armed men?
Well, I think you have to keep in mind that these Lashkars are being raised from within a particular tribe or from within a particular community. And as long as they belong to the same area, to the same tribe, I think the likelihood of them getting at each other's throat is minimal. Yes, the danger exists that some of them can fall into the hands of the militants and they can again be used against the Lashkar. But I think in such a society where most of the people have grown up with guns, this likelihood, you shall have to, I think, live with that.
Okay, good to talk to you again. Imtiaz Gul speaking to us from Islamabad there.